My name is Cassie Carroll. I am with the Green Business Engagement National Network, or GBEN. I also am with the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign at the Smart Energy Design Assistance Center, which is a mouthful. And I also run the Illinois Green Business Program, and I am delighted to have this awesome panel of speakers. These are some of the green business programs that are leading the charge in Region 9 and 10, as well as the country, for green business programs. And so I'm excited because we have so much great expertise right here on this panel today. So in this session, you'll gain successful strategies to communicate and market P2 program services from regional green business programs. So we'll also discuss the best language to communicate P2 practices and programs with businesses, how to share and leverage P2 resources that encourage businesses to take action, and how to leverage partnerships to amplify implementation wins. This session is open, so it's not to all attendees, so if you're not in a green business program, don't worry. There's a lot of nuggets of knowledge that you can take to promote and share P2 best practices with the businesses that you serve. So we have 3 amazing presentations today. They'll be short presentations, so then we'll have a hearty amount of time for discussion. And we do mean short, about 10 minutes each, and each will provide unique perspectives on how to communicate the benefits and amplify P2 successes. We'll then host a discussion with our panelists and of course all of you in the room today. So as we get started, I'd like to first introduce Joe Flemming for the California Green Business Network. Joe has over 30 years of experience in the environmental realm with a wide breadth of scientific research, environmental remediation, commercial, industrial pollution prevention, environmental-based outcome data, and community-based social marketing programs to address the environmental problems of our time. She has a bachelor's of science in environmental science and a minor in Spanish. She has worked to establish numerous green business programs, green hundreds of businesses, and serves as the executive director of the California Green Business Network. Originally from Australia, Joe has lived and worked all over the world. She's also heavily involved in a lot of our national initiatives to grow green business programs using the Green Biz Tracker tool. So we're so thrilled to have you here, Joe, with us today. Please take it away. All right, thanks you guys. You're killing me with a lava cake.
So I'm happy to be here. I'm going to give it to you straight about pollution prevention, right? Because so my background is in pre-treatment. I love pollution prevention. The whole reason why I started a green business program in my neck of the woods was because I wanted to do pollution prevention at businesses and I wanted an incentive to do it. And guess what? Pollution prevention, if you'll notice in this little slide here, it preserves the environment, it supports people's health. It doesn't always save money. Sometimes it does, but more often than not, you're spending money for pollution prevention. Not always. So what we like to do in green business is couple pollution prevention with some of the more palatable items that actually do save the businesses money. So doing energy retrofits saves some money. Conserving water saves some money. So doing some of those things and coupling pollution prevention with it actually really helps. So some example measures that we have that are kind of uniform to all of our checklists in the form of pollution prevention. You'll recognize a lot of these. They've probably been talked about at the conference. Safer janitorial chems, EPA Safer Choice, gotta plug that. Greener chemistries, so no low solvent, low VOC, less toxic alternatives. Stormwater protection, universal waste management, and integrated pest management. Those are kind of uniform to all of our sector checklists. There's also sector-specific items. I was just in one where we heard a lot about metal finishers and food manufacturers in LA. So there's sector-specific items. There's sterilization for medical facilities, digital X-ray and photo processing, electric instead of gas-powered tools for our contractors, remodelers, wet or CO2 cleaning for garment cleaners instead of solvents. Safer cosmetics at salons. We go through every single product on the EWG list. Aqueous parts washers for auto repair and dry vacuum sanding for auto body. These are just some examples, and I could go on and on for days. We have 32 sectors, and but this is just to give you a flavor of the P2 measure examples that we have. And you can see that they're kind of labor intensive, research intensive, and that's where we get in and we help the businesses on that. But if we're gonna market those things, it's really good if you couple them with things that do help the business save money. And obviously couple it with the promotion of the business. So Sean was originally going to do this presentation for you all because he's our marketing director and he's really good at this stuff. This is our general marketing practice, and he puts a lot of effort into this. We've got a Google ad grant. If you don't have a Google ad grant, they're pretty easy to get from what we found. You just need to be a nonprofit or find a nonprofit partner, and then you can get a Google ad grant, and ours is very generous. It's about $10,000 of ad buys per month, and so we can do a lot of Google ads. But Sean always emphasizes that the best way that he can market is by sending our people out door to door, teaming up with inspectors that are already going out to these businesses. That's a great way. And then also having your businesses do the marketing. So you help one business, by the time you're done with them, they love you, and then you have them tell another business to do this program. That's the best way to market the program, bar none. But some other ways we do it: social media, word of mouth, knocking on doors, phone calls. We even stoop so low as to do cold calling, a bunch of phone calls. Nothing wrong with it. But one of the things that we do, say if we're just getting started on a sector, we kind of have a tried and true little formula, if you will. It's not one size fits all. We have to kind of tackle each sector as they come. But we've done this for a number of different sectors where we will come up with a checklist, do a lot of research, work with a lot of partners, especially state partners, and then we'll end up doing workshops, pilot the checklist with a few businesses, get their feedback on it. Then we'll do workshops with even more businesses, get more feedback, get more businesses into the program. And then our first crop of businesses, they kind of become the Patagonia of their sector, if you will. So like we had Strauss Creamery. I think that's kind of the Patagonia of food processors or food manufacturers. And they were one of the first, and we promoted the heck out of them alongside all of our other first food manufacturers. And that kind of built up some healthy competition and interest from other businesses. So that's a great way to market is, just have those first people go through it and then market the heck out of them, promote the heck out of them, and you get other businesses into it. So we did a lot of blog with targeted Google ads, social media. We had an industry newsletter, and we had our own newsletter highlighting those businesses. Awesome. Thank you. So here are some sectors with pollution prevention focus. We partnered heavily with DTSC, the Department of Toxic Substances in California, on auto repair and auto body. I think a lot of us are still using their best environmental management practices on this, still to this day. It hasn't changed very much, honestly, and there's still a lot of work to be done in these auto repair and auto body facilities. We worked with EPA and the Air Resources Board on food manufacturing. And then the rest of these we just did on our own. We tackled them on our own and came up with the checklist and did workshops. Not on our own, I won't say, because we still have a lot of partners that inform our checklist. And there's some new ones that we're getting into right now that are heavily pollution prevention. We're starting to work with farms, which is really exciting. We hesitated for a long time. Everyone kept telling us to work with farms, and we hesitated because there's a lot of good people doing really good things. There's no one bringing it all together like we do at P2. There's no one bringing all multimedia. There's people doing energy. There's people doing transportation. There's people doing organic. There's people doing little facets of regenerative farms. No one's bringing it all together in one thing, so we decided to tackle it. We're just getting started. The other thing that we're considering is working with the California Healthy Nail Salon Collaborative. We have a lower level checklist, and we're thinking about they need kind of someone to help them next level and to market it. And so they've done wonderful work coming up with the criteria and working with the nail salons. And so we might help them market it and spread it wider and further. So we're getting started with that. So we worked with Donna Walden in Nevada, and we did we've done a number of these, so it was really easy for us to help her out with another workshop for auto repair and auto body. And one of the things that came out of that is we put a aqueous parts washer. We bought an aqueous parts washer through Donna's grant with the US EPA, and we bought it from the college's auto repair shop. And then we did a case study on the savings of it, and they were really happy with it, and we had some good data to show for it. And at the workshop, a lot of people were really interested in considering switching from their solvent tanks. So that was a really good marketing tool. The other thing is just I mentioned that the sectors aren't one size fits all. You kind of have to know your audience. You know, poor restaurants, man. They had the pandemic where we neglected them. Then we decided to make them recycle everything. Then we decided to make them compost everything. Now we're hitting them up with foodware. Then we're gonna hit them up with a conductive cookware. So we're just like, we're really harassing them, I think. So you have to kind of think of you have to understand where they're coming from and put yourself in their shoes. And a lot of people were tackling foodware. There's a lot of foodware ordinances. We partnered with Rethink Disposable, which is an amazing group if you want to really tackle foodware and get reusables in restaurants. Just, leapfrog over the disposables, the compostables. But how do we work with these restaurants? What's going to really bring them to the table in mass to make change? And so what we did is we figured out what their pain point is. The pain point ordinance going into effect. They have to do it. They don't want to come to a workshop where we're teaching them. They want to come to a vendor trade show where there's a bunch of vendors there with a bunch of free stuff to give away. And then they want really soupy, gooey food to try out this foodware to make sure it can stand the actual test. They wanted everything in their language and their culture, so we partnered with community-based organizations that speak Chinese, that speak Spanish, that speak Vietnamese. We called every business to get them there. We did some direct mailing, and a lot of people had failed setting up these foodware webinars and events, and no one showed up. And we had outstanding attendance. We had over 200 restaurants there, so it was awesome. So it's just to show that you have to shift gears and know who your ordinance is. So I'm kind of pairing this, my dad calls Brussels sprouts evil little cabbages. He hates them, I love them. But so I'm saying you've got your pollution prevention, it's healthy, it's good for us. We all need to do it, right? We all need to eat Brussels sprouts. But you want to pair it with some ice cream to make it more palatable. So you want to pair it with the things that are saving businesses money, where we're giving them free stuff. And that's how you're going to market P2. At least that's how we do it. And make it fun. Always make it fun. All right. That is it for me.
Thank you so much, Joe. And again, we'll have time for questions here at the end of all of our presentations. So I have the pleasure now of introducing Chow. She is with Cascadia Consulting and the Washington EnviroStars program. So Christy is an associate at Cascadia Consulting Group and a member of the Washington EnviroStars program. I should have edited my script before that. In addition to her role at EnviroStars, Christy works on projects at Cascadia that focus on recycling and waste prevention, reuse systems and circular economies, and all things engagement. She is a graduate of Santa Clara University and the University of Denver for her master's. She loves taking her little black cat, Abed, hiking. Christy? Thank you.
Sorry to say I did not bring Abed today. I think I would have kind of stolen the show. But, well, thank you for having me. My name is Christy Chow with Cascadia Consulting, and I think this actually blends really well into what Joe just went over with a lot of the work with California Green Business Network, because we actually use their platform for our green business program in Washington called EnviroStars. And it is a free one-stop hub for Washington businesses to really get assistance, resources, anything to make their business more sustainable and to protect their workplace, the community, and the planet. So, pretty cool program. Just want to kind of run you through how it works a bit, and then we'll dive into kind of some of the pollution prevention work that we do and the efforts that we do to market that as well. So how does a business get recognized? It's easy. They register on our web platform that is created by California Green Business Network, and then complete an application where they gain points through the different measures that they take sustainable actions, and then they get the points through those, and I'll show you some examples of those. And then they get a site visit from a member of the EnviroStars team to just make sure that they're doing the things that they said they're doing, and actually more than anything to be on site and just offer more resources too, where they see actions could also be taken, or perhaps a rebate could be used or something like that. They get an ecology compliance check, and then they're recognized, and they get some fun things: a window claim, a certificate. They get to be in a green business directory, among other benefits. So, ooh, that's a fun slide. Sorry about that, the title there. But yes, so jumping into pollution prevention, this is just an example of one of the kind of the platform, the web platform, and some of the measures there. So some of the P2 core measures that we have, I won't read them all out, but you can read some of them there. These are standard kind of measures that we hope businesses will go through and check off and say that they've done in order to achieve EnviroStars recognition. And so things like that, are monitoring equipment and vehicles to identify and fix leaks. So identify and properly label and take steps to reduce all hazardous waste. And this one is I think very focused too on the auto sector. We have sector specific, as Joe was kind of talking about, checklists as well. And so for folks who are in the food industry or the hospitality industry, they have a separate checklist, but a lot of the same pollution prevention kind of principles. So there are also elective measures that they get to get extra points for, and so that helps them getting those higher tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And it's just kind of bragging rights to say how awesome a business they are and how great they are and committed to the environment. So low impact development principles, integrated pest management program to minimize the use of herbicides and pesticides, etc. So, and it's fun to see a business go through all of those and check off all of the electives as well, because it's really, it gamifies it for them, so they're very excited. All right, so assistance, that's what we're all kind of here for, right? To how do we get the word out through the EnviroStars program? But we have quite a few ways, actually, some of which I think are really fun, and we've gotten to revamp over the years. But one of them is the green tips feature that we have through the web platform. And for each measure that I showed you, you have the ability to add a green tip, depending on where that business is. So whichever region they're in, their member agency, folks from their EnviroStars kind of team in that area can add specific tips to help them achieve those actions. So for instance, how to use your spill kit. We include a video for folks on the pollution prevention section about obtaining a spill kit and then how to actually use it. And that's across the state of Washington, folks are able to get spill kits through different providers, like in Seattle. Seattle Public Utilities provides them, and then King County Hazardous Waste for broader King County. We also have a newsletter that goes out, which actually has recently been doing very well, so we're very proud of this. Because we have a fantastic design team, and they do a great job with this, but we do seasonal or monthly themed green tips for those as well, and then we talk all about the resources, rebates, grants, events. I know whoever kicked the table just got really excited right now, so I'm gonna take go P2. And so, yeah, we talk about rebates, grants, anything like that. We do business shout outs, all that great stuff. And so people love to see that. And it's a great way. We've gotten a lot of folks directed to some of our partners, our pollution prevention partners' websites through the newsletter, which has been great. Social media, it's great too. They say Facebook is dying, but it's working for us. So keep it up. I think what Joe was saying is true too. And in Sean's slide about social media, just like spreading it across social media, but then also making sure that you're following that. That's kind of like icing on the cake, right? You want to be able to get out there into the community, right? And actually kind of engage with folks. So that kind of leads me to the next one, which is direct outreach and engagement. And this is now a former EnviroStars member on the King County Hazardous Waste prevention team, and she would go out and now other team members do, but go out and do these kind of compliance checks. We don't like to call them compliance because it's more of a recognition program, so I'm going to amend that. A recognition visit or a site visit, and they'll go out and do those. And oftentimes during these visits, again, is when like King County Hazardous Waste will actually provide options for folks. So they'll walk through and notice, okay, you're doing great with like in terms of your waste and all of this, and these pollution prevention measures are good on your checklist, but I've noticed that you could probably swap out that soap for something that's like EPA Saver Choice, for instance. So that is an option that they have. And then also, I'm just highlighting some of the awesome partnerships with and direct engagement that we have with folks, again, like King County Hazardous Waste. They have a really cool program where they, for smaller waste producers and pollution prevention, folks who want pollution prevention help, they have opportunities like a cash incentive program, and that helps businesses implement P2 actions. So they get, I think it's up to like it's like $599 to help implement P2 actions for these businesses. So those are all great ways, and again, those are things that we shout out in our newsletters. We talk about it on our socials, we chat about it, as much as possible when we're actually talking to the business. So that direct engagement is a really big part of it. And then, I know Joe touched on this too as well, but just being really grateful to the community that we work with and the different communities, right? CBOs, we make sure to try and set equity in everything that we do, and I think pollution prevention, we can all agree that it's a pretty big deal. We need to make sure that we're making things accessible and equitable for folks. So that's how we go about our different campaigns. We make sure to get all the voices at the table, and then make things as equitable as possible so that we can all implement P2 actions. Yeah, and that's another, it was a fun picture, I had to throw it in, but this is some of our team taking a picture with a recently recognized EnviroStars business, and that is a beautiful spill kit right there. So, P2 in action. All right, and thank you. That's us. So, if you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Christy. And again, one more presenter, and then we'll dig into your questions. Thank you so much for all of your comments and presentation. Okay, and now I have the pleasure of introducing Emily Shelton. She is with Bring Recycling and the Oregon Rethink Business Network. So Emily is the Director of Education and Outreach at Bring Recycling in Eugene, Oregon, and the Network Administrator of the Oregon Rethink Business Network, which launched just this year. Formerly Bring's K-12 educator, Emily brings her thirst for environmental justice and waste prevention hierarchy awareness to the Oregon business community. She's also an avid outdoors woman, lover of sour beer, and mother of one adorable rescued poodle terrier mix pup. Emily? Thank you for being here.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who mentioned their pet in their bio. Lane County Waste Management and the City of Eugene, and also eWeb, which is our local utility. And since its launch, we've helped hundreds of businesses reduce waste, save money, and improve their environmental and community outcomes. So we're doing the same type of work that EnviroStars and California Green Business Network is doing, but in Lane County, which is a very large area in Oregon. Our partnership with local government is a really creative model because it creates a sense of trust. As an established nonprofit, we are nimble and we are able to respond quickly to outside forces. We are able to provide a level of expertise, design and achieve goals, and sort of double the marketing benefits across Bring and our partners' networks. So similar to the other certification programs represented today, we focus on these categories, and we provide on-site evaluation, education, referrals, and resources. We are really proud of our the new portion of our checklist that addresses the social side of sustainability, asking businesses about their JEDI, EDI values. We look at things like resiliency, hiring practices, emergency action plans, stuff of that nature. But today we're talking about marketing, and so while our program is on a much smaller scale, currently we have this one sort of fun marketing success that I wanted to talk about today. So we, in partnership with the City of Eugene, we started the Mayor's Bold Steps Award Program in 2014. And so for this partnership, you must be Rethink certified to apply for the award. It's a yearly award that recognizes Eugene-based sustainable businesses. And new this year, there will be applications for large and small businesses. So businesses will be competing in 2 separate award categories based on the size of their business, and then will be compared to their counterparts in their category. And so the small business is for businesses that have 20 or fewer employees. So this really brings together the environmental health, economic prosperity, social equity values of these businesses. The Bold Steps finalist benefits, we receive dozens of applications every year from a variety of sectors, and there are 3 finalists that receive professionally produced videos highlighting their sustainability efforts. They also receive print advertisements and then recognition from the mayor and community members at the State of the City event in January. So I just wanted to highlight some of the winners from the Bold Steps Award. This is George Rohde Auto Shops was the winner in 2018. They are both Rethink certified and EcoBiz certified. Some of the P2 actions that they implemented through their certifications include bulk purchasing policy for oils and antifreeze, implemented purchasing policies to find less toxic alternatives, services their storm drains annually. So a lot of these P2 measures that our certification programs are looking at. And you can see them here with this lovely award. It's very large. In 2020, Yogi Tea won the Bold Steps Award. They are the first LEED certified tea manufacturing facility in the world. I like that, Joe, you mentioned, P2 is not necessarily inexpensive, and as you might imagine, building a LEED certified facility costs quite a bit of money, and then you also have to pay for the actual certification, which is a hefty sort of registration fee. And so these companies are making major investments in their P2 actions. And then just a couple of the other sort of more standard things that we would expect from a sustainability business leader: marking storm drains on an industrial campus, installing hand dryers in bathrooms, implementing that purchasing policy to eliminate single-use items, and so on. He is very excited to get the award. Oh, and then, let's see, is my video gonna work? And then 2021, it's not here. Very quick here. Oh, okay, I got you. So in 2021, Marley's Monsters was our Bold Steps Award, and so this is an example of one of those professionally produced videos. Marley's Monsters is a manufacturer of reusable alternatives for single-use items like masks and all sorts of things you'll see in the video. I thought I had embedded it so well. It's coming.
On every vacation at a Virgo home, there's someone like you.
Of course, we have to have an advertisement first.
To make up for lost time.
Only appropriate in our marketing plan.
My name is Sarah Lee, and I am the founder and president of Marley's Monsters. We
manufacturer that produces replacements for single-use disposables. Our product line is all
We had this issue earlier.
Okay.
built around usability and sustainability.
I've got one more fix here. We're gonna see if this works. Apologies for the delay. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you.
Alright, can we see it? Yes. Alright, let's start this over.
And I am the founder and president of Marley's Monsters. We are a branded manufacturer that produces replacements for single-use disposables. Our product line is all built around reusability and sustainability. Is it reusable? Does it replace a disposable item? And is it made of natural materials? So at the end of its life, can it go back and be biodegradable? I think it's our responsibility as a sustainable product company to run a sustainable business. Everything we do, we just try to do more sustainably. In manufacturing, there is inevitable waste. When we receive our fabric rolls in shipments, they come wrapped in plastic. We found a local recycler who takes this plastic film and recycles it up in Corvallis. When we ship out our products to our customers, we've made a strong commitment to doing all of that plastic free. Another community partnership that we have nurtured this year is with Mecca, the materials exchange. We actually have created kind of a special process to get them usable scrap that comes off of our cutting table that we don't use in other ways.
We look at ways that we can reduce waste. We look at ways that we can reduce our impact on our local environment. But we also look at how we can coexist in our local community and make a difference locally. Back in early March, we saw a huge impact coming locally in the form of a pandemic. Masks at that time were in very, very short supply, and we saw a definite need to have a mask that was able to be washed and be able to be reused over and over again. We were able to donate over 2,500 masks to frontline workers, and we really were able to help a lot of organizations that would have otherwise had to go without.
It was very difficult because we were so busy already, but
So as you can see, it's a very beautiful video, and who doesn't want like a free, professionally produced video for their business? It's a really nice benefit. They, as you can tell, are kind of like the gold star of sustainable businesses in Oregon. We're really proud to have them in our community. You know, it's a wonderful program. It's thanks in partnership to our partnership with the city of Eugene, and we're really, we think it's a really cool model for that other programs could replicate. Here in Oregon, we bring also as the license holder for the Green Biz tracker that Christy just showed you, and so we are using this database tool as well in Oregon. Bring uses it for our Rethink certification, and we also have a member in Salem, Oregon, Marion County Environmental Services, that is now using this web platform as well. When we came to license this tool for our state, we realized that we would also like to have a unifying statewide presence that could sort of strengthen these marketing efforts and unify the messaging. And so we have created the Oregon Rethink Business Network, and we are currently seeking member agencies from across the state to get in on the ground floor of our initiative. And so hopefully that one day, you know, if you work in nonprofits, you understand that sometimes you can be a one-woman team like myself. And so we want to have a larger and stronger marketing arm through the business network, Oregon Rethink Business Network. So if you would like to speak more about that, I would love to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. I love that picture. There's your contact information there. We'll get the slides out to everybody as well. But now I'd like to actually transition to questions from the audience. So if you have burning questions from the session today, please feel free to raise your hand and our panelists will answer those for you. And if you don't have any questions, I have some lined up. Yes?
I have a question. So I'm newer to the P2 world, just a few months in, but I come from my own history of CSR, sustainable business, and one thing that's really struck me is P2 is so vast, right? There's a vast amount of activities that count, but it's not maybe the most popular, right? People don't know what P2 is. They don't know pollution prevention the way they know maybe about renewables or efficiencies. So this morning in kind of our 1-2 little fun tea party, one of the big takeaways my table had is like, we need to make P2 sexy, right? And I don't have a brilliant idea yet, maybe someday, but I was just kind of wondering if you guys have thoughts on that or ways that we could, make P2 at least interesting.
I have something to say.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like we did by creating green business programs.
Yeah.
That's how we made it sexy. We all just wanted to geek out on the environmental science of it, right? And the greener chemistry and all that.
Yeah.
But I think that was a way to bring it all together, like, because some people just go straight to like, you're not gonna go straight to talking to a mom and pop about putting solar panels on their roof. They might not even have a roof, So like, you kind of, and this stuff is just as important. So you have to like approach it holistically. So I think coupling P2 with other more, in the news stuff helps. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm always looking to see how we can make certain things sexy. It's like my goal. And with P2, I'm like, can we make like Spell Kids sexy somehow? But I think what they did consider, like on the more serious side of things, is that when we're looking to make things more popular and understandable and accessible too, is just, I think the most important thing is knowing our communities first, right? And like knowing where they're coming from, the different, because the way that we market things and make them sexy is gonna have to be different for every community.
Yeah.
So understanding that first is like step number one.
Yeah.
And then once you're there and can start to like integrate that into the communities, then you're on your way. So.
And I was going to say, just mention that in our panel discussion call with preparing for this session, we talked a lot about how P2 is kind of a clunky word. So how can we make it a little bit more relatable? Maybe hazardous reduction or reducing hazards. So the terminology that we use too, we can simplify it to make it a little bit easier and digestible for businesses to understand. So I think to your point, Christy, about understanding your audience and what they respond to, we can position P2 solutions and different practices in ways that are digestible to businesses. And it's almost like we're sneaking it in there a little bit, but we're still accomplishing our goals of reducing pollutions at the end of the day in businesses. Thank you for your question. Yeah, good question. Yes?
I keep the table when you're talking about the newsletter.
Sorry to call you out.
Yeah, it's cool. I work on a newsletter, and I was just gonna ask like why you think it's so successful, and like what pieces of it that might be a takeaway for us when creating our own newsletters.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly am not sure about why there's been such an uptick lately, although I will say, like, I think we're definitely featuring more businesses and people who are adopting these practices, right? And so I think the more you celebrate folks, the more likely they are to have that word of mouth too, to other communities and to other people within their sector. And so that's been really helpful too, because we will hear feedback. We have like a little survey that goes out when folks register and then get recognized, and a lot of them have been saying like, oh, we heard about it through this other business. And a lot of times it's a business we just featured in the newsletter. So,
Who are your subscribers?
yeah, that's a really good question. So it's a bunch of people in the business community throughout Seattle, and sorry, not just Seattle. It's a lot of Seattle because Western Washington happens to be like just a big part of the business community in Washington, but all over Washington. But yeah, business community, and then also folks who are on like the EnviroStars team but are the member agencies that are part of the broader EnviroStars network. They're the ones that are kind of the champions within their own regions of making sure that the EnviroStars program gets out there and that people are getting the resources they need. And so they are also subscribed to it and constantly saying like, oh, you know, that's a great thing that you highlighted. Maybe next time highlight this, you know. And so it really is kind of expanding this rich network of folks who are involved in the program. So, and I think we have a few stragglers too, people who just liked it and signed up.
Yeah. Okay, one more follow-up question. Do people click on your green tips? Like, do you get like positive feedback around that? Is that like a...
So the we have two kind of, that might have been a little confused. We have green tips in the actual, on the web platform. So yeah, if we should go back to that, that'd be great. And those are things that people can, yes, they will click on the links because it provides certain kind of directed assistance to help them complete that measure.
Yeah.
And then within the newsletter too, it's not really clickable, it's more just a kind of a shout out.
Like the tip of the month, though, like...
Yeah, so if there are links in there that we embed, that definitely gets traction for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I kind of have a follow-up question, really quickly for each of you. You know, so you build case studies. Case studies, are so important to spreading the word. You've talked about newsletter as a vehicle that you use to spread that case studies and the results of your work in your programs. Can you each touch on a little bit about how you use case studies and on what platforms? Because I know case studies are great, but if you don't use them, or how do you, I guess, use them to promote the successes of these P2 practices for businesses?
Yeah, I mean, so the newsletter, the featured business for sure is one big way. We also like to feature recently recognized businesses with a kind of like a little video tour or an interview. That's kind of fun. It's definitely not as, it's cool, but it's not what you guys put out. That was amazing. That was spectacular. But, so yeah, just a few ways like that. I'm sure, I spoke about a few of them.
Yeah, we just, we've been doing some case studies with Rethink Disposable on the foodware side of things. And one thing that they really hone in on is the cost savings. So, one thing that I don't think is marketed enough is that restaurants stand to save tens of sometimes up to $20,000 a year just by switching to reusables for dine-in. And when you look at that, when restaurants look at that, they're like, oh, that's a no-brainer. And you're gonna buy them for me, you're gonna buy the durable plates for me and everything, and that's cheap, like $300, right? So that's how you can use case studies, is the cost savings. They're labor intensive to get the data, but they're worth it.
Yeah, I would just add to that, just sharing that information business to business, and then also just with other networks is really helpful. And then it's always helpful to have those case studies for when you're doing nonprofit work and applying for grants and being able to just demonstrate the benefits of these programs.
Thank you. All right, who else has a question for our panel? Yes?
I have a not fully formed question.
That's fine.
Kind of maybe going off of what you were talking about with how you re-render the hazard reduction or how to make it more appealing. I'm wondering how you think about bringing the marketing and reaching more people in a broader audience while the content seems to be so industry and location specific. So how do you navigate that continuum of message?
That's a really good question, and I would like to know the answer to that too. You've identified a big problem, an opportunity, I suppose, but it's a big challenge, right? Like it's, having so many folks with different needs in the different areas and different sectors can be really tough. And so I think really when we go through the EnviroStars program, we have different committees throughout the folks that make up what we call the member agencies and steering committees and executive committees. We have a program standards committee, and they really focus on the checklist specifically and all the sectors of that, including all the P2 measures. And they really look at kind of the landscape currently of Washington and businesses and how they're doing, how can we make that checklist more applicable to everyone and more all-encompassing, while at the same time celebrating those in their specific sectors, perhaps in the elective measures section, whereas the core measures are what are unified across sectors. So that's one way to do it, and I know we're still, that's kind of a half answer, we're still struggling with that, so I'm excited to hear what you say.
Yeah. No, that was good. That tipped me off on a few things. So we have an entry level tier now in California And it's the same, I think there's 10 core measures and 2 elective measures, right, Corona? I think that's what.
I think it's 13 or 14.
13 or 14, okay. I'm glad I have people on the ground. Actually, they change frequently. But it's, what that does is it kind of lowers the barrier for entry, one, so you get more businesses in the door that are exposed to, they might not care about sustainability, they might not want to do anything environmental, but they care about the free stuff and the efficiency and running a cost-effective business. So they come for all that and they do the efficiency tier. And then they realize like, oh gosh, that wasn't that hard and I got a bunch of free stuff. So they move on to the certified. And that's uniform for any business. They're the same measures entry level, although we're now customizing them for sectors just to keep it complicated. That's what we like to do. But it's kind of a strength and a weakness that we do look for commonalities in businesses and common themes that we could apply industry-wide. And what ends up happening is you get a lot done from finding those commonalities, but you also miss things. Like some of the sectors we're working with now, like food manufacturers, ag, those, they have some commonalities, but there's a lot of stuff that's very specific to certain businesses. And so I feel like we're missing some stuff. So it's just, it's always a struggle to figure that out. And we, you know, our performance standards committee, we pull in experts and try to make sure we're capturing it all, and just never stop, right? We're always iterative in our checklist, but you have to be careful to keep it doable for the business, and that's what the entry level checklist is all about.
And I would just add from a different perspective, another way that we can look at it too is trying to be intentional with the content that you're sharing through your social media platforms and newsletters and those sorts of things, and tracking what industry successes you're sharing, who's highlighted, what industries are highlighted, maybe making it a point to look at your newsletter list and who's subscribed, and making sure that your content is pointed to that audience as well. So we try to at least rotate among sectors in our program to make sure that people feel included, and all different sorts of sectors are there. But I loved your responses about checklists, and so many of our green business programs across the country are thinking, how do we get businesses to the table? And then how can our purist hearts be solved by, our environmental purist hearts by getting them further along the process and incrementally helping them do more and more in their companies.
One thing I'll add on that too is just making sure that you're always thinking about the equity piece, and so you're recruiting businesses that might not have heard of your program because maybe you're not doing a good job reaching out to different communities. So making sure you have different languages, different cultures, and really doing a concerted effort there to be inclusive.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes?
Do businesses ever tell you that they feel overwhelmed with all the pollution prevention opportunities being marketed at them? Or that they're just not in their priority list? And if so, what do you do?
I was really upset with myself for not, there was something on my slide deck that I was supposed to mention, so I'm glad you asked that question. So we have like 2 minutes, right, when we're first talking to a business and trying to sell them on becoming a green business. We have 2 minutes. And that 2 minutes is going to make or break us as to whether they're going to be involved in it or just be like, yeah, no, I don't have time for that. And so I think the biggest point of it is to say, like, look, companies pay a lot of money for environmental consultants. You get me for free. I have rebates for you. I will put you in touch with I will commit to putting you in touch with every resource there is to get your business to do this, and you will end up saving money. And you gotta lead with that, you know? You gotta lead with that up front when you're marketing them. And then when they see the checklist, you gotta have the psychology to say, I know it's a long checklist, but you're probably already doing a lot of it. And I'm gonna be here to help you. I'm your free technical assistant. I'm gonna help you get through this. And you're gonna be better off for it. So that's kind of the message, because they all do. They're like, oh, that's a long checklist. And then if they're overwhelmed, say, well, why don't you just try the entry level? We'll just work on the entry level at first, and then see, break it into bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, I can just give sort of a little bit of an example that I run into quite frequently. The managing of storm drains. It's one of those things that it actually costs quite an investment, especially if you have a lot of them on your property, to have them service annually, and we'll get through, and that, for some reason, that seems to be at the end of the checklist, and so it's like what we get all the way through, and then it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, and so then that can be overwhelming, and it's like, you know, this is, so we really like to meet people where they are on their sustainability journey, and so we're, you know, we don't actually require them necessarily to get that completed necessarily before they can be certified. Some programs might do it differently, but we would ask that they just do that investigation, find out who might be, that they might want to contract with, and do that investigation. And it sort of just like, you know, gives them that power back when they, you know, it's like, this is one small step that you can take towards completing that measure. Maybe you don't get it completely done, but you are doing something, and so giving them that power back when something can become overwhelming, so.
No, I think you all covered it. I mean, I think what we say is exactly like you say, Joe. We tell a lot of businesses, first of all, if they're businesses that have been seeking out EnviroStars, a lot of times they are businesses that have done most of the things. And I should mention too that, I don't think I mentioned this, but the EnviroStars program is an integrated program. So it began as a pollution prevention kind of specific program, and we wanted to make sure it was pretty holistic as well. So it also includes things like for energy and water conservation and solid waste and all that too. But that just makes it more overwhelming, right? So it's more checklists, more things for people. But yeah, we just like Emily said, we meet them where they are, and then we really just push that we're here to help them. We have folks who will go through the checklist with other people, especially those who don't necessarily speak English. We'll have folks who can go through it in language with them, and just kind of make that information more accessible. And I think we all are familiar that, you know, with P2, with pollution prevention, that there's a lot of jargon and a lot of technical terms. And so that's one of the barriers. I know I spoke about that last year at the conference, is that was one of the barriers that folks were feeling, is that they just didn't necessarily know some of these terms. And so, yeah, that on-site assistance too, that engagement, that's just that human connection, that's super important, because it's in those moments, I think, that there's a lot of just learning. And so we really love that. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we can take one more question. All right. Oh, yes. Don't want to miss your question. Yes.
So this might be a weird question. Do you make sure that companies are in environmental compliance with current regulatory requirements? I saw one of the things that said they label all their universal waste and hazardous waste. Yeah, but they're supposed to do that anyway. It's a part of regulation.
Totally. And so that's, you know, part of it for like the folks who go out for the hazardous waste departments. We'll actually go out and do that check for sure. But there's also an ecology check that we do with the whole Washington Department of Ecology. So we send in the business, and we just make sure that when they're going through the application process, even before they're recognized, we run a check and just make sure that all is good on that front.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same here, yeah, we do the same. We do a file check, so we have like it built into the system, or it sends it to the inspector, and the inspector gives us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And we do end up, you know, brokering some compliance with some businesses. We bring them into compliance and happen.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's nice to have a relationship with DEQ where they do allow for some grace period in coming into compliance. So that's where we're just the liaison and really just trying to be the facilitator and help the business so that they can succeed.
All right, thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. Thank you, Christy, Joe, Emily, for speaking today. Let's give them a round of applause. Awesome, and if you have other questions for them, they'll be around the rest of the day. So feel free to pick their brains on other marketing specifics, because I know we just scratched the surface on a lot of the ways that we use in different channels we use to market and promote our programs. But I at least hope you leave with some new tips, tools, tricks, and strategies to market P2 in your communities and through your programs. So thank you very much for joining us.